Hi, comic book fans. Welcome to a very special Suddenly Comics video. Today, I have got a special guest. It is many of you will know my guest today. His name is Kyle Andrews. He is a extremely knowledgeable comic historian. He's written numerous articles in numerous journals about various aspects of comics. And he is a regular on a couple of the YouTube channels that I appear on. So you may well have seen Kyle previously. Now, I have recently acquired from Kyle's family's archives a very special set of documents that arrived in the post yesterday. And so I'd like to just show you these, and I'd also like to quiz Kyle about some of the aspects of these, because I've got a lot of questions and Kyle may, I hope, have some of the answers. So first of all, before I get into talking to Kyle, I'm just going to show you where this material ended up. So this is a DC limited collector's edition called The Most Spectacular Stories Ever Told from the Bible. Okay, it's fantastic. If you haven't got one of these, you need to get it. It is the most remarkable Joe Kubert art. It really is. The production standards on this are absolutely incredible. You know, the Joe Kubert art here is just stunning.
Kubert's the cover. Kubert's only the cover. Nestor Redondo.
Who does the internals?
It's Sheldon Mayer roughs done over by a new Filipino artist at the time called Nestor Redondo. They gave him the legwork.
I've already, well, okay, whoever did it, it's you know,
yeah.
I mean, some of these early pages as well, where it starts off with the creation,
yeah.
Just stunning stuff. Right.
Which will look awfully familiar to you once you pull out the other stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So you can that's pretty nice, but that is not what's special here. What's special here is that what's come with this is what appears to be and let me read you the front of what it says at the front of this edition. Because what it shows a picture of a guy called Sheldon Mayer. It shows a picture of Joe Kubert, and it sure shows a picture of Nestor Redondo. That must be the guy you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And it says here, Sheldon Mayer has exercised his talent in the fields of editing, writing, and drawing for decades. He researched many versions of biblical publications, delved into histories, commentaries, and translations in an effort to elicit the best information possible for our project. His script was a result of vast experience and ability, a combination that was acquired over the past years of our industry. So, Carl, can you just tell us a bit about this guy, Sheldon Mayer?
Yeah, he came in from the beginning. I mean, he's literally a contemporary to Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson, to the names you hear from the beginning, to the Harry Donenfelds, to the Bill Gaineses who founded EC Comics. These are the guys that founded and started up DC Comics, which was like all American,
national
and national periodicals. All these guys that actually founded this stuff, and mind you, the majority of them were in their late teens, early 20s when they did this. I mean, this was the comic book medium at that time was in its fledgling stages. There literally wasn't, as we know it today, a comic book when these guys were getting together doing this. There were books, literal books of comics, but not the comic book as we know it. And he's in that group that helped actually develop that. I mean, he consulted like Harry G. Peter and William Moulton Marston on honing and refining Wonder Woman,
Right. Yeah.
on honing and refining Green Lantern. He's the guy that the guys from back in the day say it was his call to take the Superman submission off the scrap heap and pitch it to Nicholson to the point that he published it.
Right.
So even though Siegel and Schuster created Superman, Mayer's fingerprints are on the original art to Action Comics 1 because he was an editor, he was a consultant,
Yeah. He was a very early editor. He was probably the first editor at DC Comics then.
on a technicality, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd be like the EIC, and again, he was a teenager when he got in there with these guys. Now, he came in the like 33, worked for Fleischer Animation Studios and things like that. But by 35, he was steeped in it. By 1935, he was steeped in it. Mind you, by then, I think he was 20. But so were most of the guys doing this stuff. They were kids. It was a fledgling industry. They were taking chances. You know, I think the old guy of the group was 28.
Okay. Right. No, they were youngsters.
And Nicholson has a name because he's an old Marine like me, and he came in a lieutenant colonel, and he made his money writing pulps. I'd show you a Nicholson pulp, but I've already traded all that stuff away. But Nicholson made money as a fancy writer and came in with his little bankroll and saved this fledgling printing company and was like, all right, I'll take a chance with this. Let's roll the dice. And over, a 3-year time span from 35 to 38, they got the ball rolling with New Fun Comics and things like that. And things that came about through the Gaines Donenfeld experiment, which I've got pieces of that over here.
Yeah, that's where they tried out the concept, wasn't it?
Yeah, they did. It was all concept stuff. It was all trial and error. And it actually took 3 years to really launch. And what really launched them was something that was on the we don't want it pile.
Yeah.
And again, Air was right there going, we do want this. We do want this. We do want this. And he's been an integral part of the community from the inception, from the mid 30s. And by the time he'd been in the field for 40 years.
Yeah,
he was in the industry for 40 years.
This is 70. So this was 74. Work was done on this in 74 and it was published in 75. So he'd have been about 60 then, I presume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wrapping up, I mean, that was his true passion project. That was his little thing. He took years culling that thing together. The correspondences there actually start in 1973. That book did not see print until 1975.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So what I've got here, Kyle, is it's got some documents here, and as you can see at the top here, it says Sheldon Mayer, R.D. Copake, New York at the top. And then it says the story of the Bible. And we've also got here a sort of US Postal Service thing addressed to Sheldon Mayer.
Well, if you flip that thing over, if you flip to the backside of that little green envelope thing, that was signed for by a secretary at DC Comics at the reception, because at one point in time that was actually attached to something else.
Yeah. Okay.
But then it wound up stapled to that, and I've never taken any of that stuff apart. No. But I'll show you where that came from later. But those are stapled together by chapters.
Okay. Yes, that's right. So this is effectively the first couple of chapters, and this is not an original, Kyle. This appears to be some sort of photocopy or photostat or something.
No, that's the original.
Is that the original? Is this Sheldon?
That's all you're holding all original art. The photostats are oversized and bigger. That's all original.
So he's done the original art here in pencil, has he?
That's all the original pencil rough sketches, because there are stages to every comic that's done. They start out as rough.
Okay, so this is original artwork by Sheldon Mayer, is it?
Yeah. it's a pencil rough. It's
Yeah.
not
Okay.
refined. It's not, but it is pencil rough. Yeah, all them ones with his name stamped on them, that's all pure original pencil art.
Oh, I thought these were photocopies. Okay.
No, 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 no. The other container is the photo
Yeah,
stats.
I've got those ones. Yeah. Okay. So these ones here, these are original. This is original art by Sheldon Mayer. Original rough art sketches. Because the
Yeah,
yeah. Okay. The
every page of the book, mind you.
yeah.
Every page of the book.
Well, it's a bit better than that because there's some unpublished stuff here as well.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, it was refined ideas because you'll see in different ones, you can compare actual panels and
yes.
say, okay, well, he had this idea, they expanded it, and then Redondo did the filler work.
Right.
But
Okay.
that was the concept years before it actually came about. This is the first stages of, hey, this is my idea and this is how I want it to look.
I mean, this page is great. This is from the Adam and Eve story.
Now, mind you, I'm going to tell you right now, be careful and keep an eye on the table directly in front of you because there are paste ups on here that have rubber cement that's over 50 years old. And these little word balloons may
Yeah.
have
No,
pieces fall off of them.
there's one of them has fallen off. I don't know. Yes.
Yeah. And you got to keep those handy because, again, those are completely original.
Yeah.
There's editorial corrections that went in, there's ideas that went in. He had to build this from an idea in his head to putting it on the page and then doing editorial corrections throughout before they turned it over to the full art
Yes.
team.
So here, so just to back you up on that, obviously here on this page here, you can see these brown marks here.
Yeah.
This is where some of these corrections were originally put in and they've fallen off.
And there's probably somewhere in the bag.
Yeah, they probably are. Yeah. Okay.
So,
All right.
and some are still on there sturdy, some are on there loose. If it's a single word, it tends to pop off. But those are things which you'll see, like if you own a piece of original art, original comic book art from around that time, from the 70s and 80s, you will see that they did a paste up and a whiteout on those word balloons and things like that on top of the original art.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, as time went on, they perfected the techniques and didn't make it so crude. But yeah, you are holding what if stage one is the mental concept and stage 6 is the done product. In your hands, you're holding stage 2.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So it's from mind to page, and you're holding the page. And then the production stages go on until the final process. So the only thing that came out before that was the conversation had between like Carmine and Shelley and the DC people to say, all right, let's get this thing launched. What do we need? Here's what is this going to work? We need to shoot this back and forth. And like Tom talked to us about it the other day, Tom Warzikowski, where he said they'd send him things and say, okay, letter this up. We've got to this point, letter this up. That's 3 stages before that would have happened to
yeah, that's stage 5, isn't it? So
yeah, that's stage 5.
So this is really interesting. So this one here has actually got a note from Shelley, as he calls himself.
Yeah, Shelley. Yeah. Any notations on the original art is Shelley's.
Yeah. So
any notations on the photo stats are Carmine's.
Okay. On the photo stats. All right, fine. So these are the originals. So this says, and it's attached to the Sodom and Gomorrah one, which I'm not sure it should be attached to. It says, Dear Carmine, here are another 10 pages of the Bible book, pages 30 to 39. It's part 2 of the story of Abraham. I think this is attached to the wrong section, to the wrong bit. Though the subtitle, which it's okay, is I've lettered large, is the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, that's fine. When Saul has the stats made, please ask him not to let anyone trim them. I need the margins wide as they were in the first few batches, so that people I'm checking with can write their comments and corrections in the margin. Interesting. So that refers back to the photostats, which we're going to come to in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then you see that it says Lerv Shelley. Lerv is
Love.
love.
Yeah.
Lerv is love in the New York, New Jersey accent. That's how that was their common
I haven't
greeting.
noticed that. It does say love Shelley.
Lerv.
Yeah.
That was their common greeting because they all had that thick East Coast accent.
Okay.
And that was their common greeting to each other, or back and forth. Lerv, they're just, if you see old video of these guys and stuff, that's that gruff talk that they have. And yeah.
Okay. And okay, here we go. Yeah, here are some of the corrections on this one. So this is called the Generations of Adam, and you can see here this has been this bit here has been stuck on
Yeah.
different text. Yeah, okay. And again, we've got Sheldon.
And there are notes peppering that thing. Now go to that last page. Go to that last page in that one. It's a brilliant piece. There's a brilliant story that's written around that in the photo stats.
Oh,
You
right.
see the window? You see the big window piece?
Yeah.
So, and it talks about, don't change this and don't pull that off. And there's notes on there that says this has to be this big, this porthole has to be this big. And, they're actually breaking down and refining it right there.
Brilliant.
And then in the photo stats, there's more corrections, there's more reference materials, all along the notes in the margin on that, all the people he had been consulting, the rabbis and things like that. He's writing notes in the margin. So that's the original story coming too.
Okay, so Kyle, I know. So in terms of provenance for this, I know I got this from your family archives. Where did you get it from? Or where did you? I had to ask that.
Yeah, Canada.
You got it from Canada. Okay.
And where did Canada get it?
Yeah.
From the DC offices.
Okay, fine. I'm not going to ask.
You're in terms of provenance, since it's left the possession of Sheldon Mayer, the individual from DC, the individual from Canada, me, you.
So I'm the fifth owner of this.
Technically, outside of the original owners, there's provenance to 4 owners.
Okay, now I'm going to show you an interesting one. This is the reason it's interesting is I can't find it in the published edition, and this is one called Rachel and Leah. That, as far as I can see, does not appear in the final published document. So that would appear to be an unpublished.
Well, and again, like he was talking about in that letter to him, they change headers, they change ideas. That was constantly in flux. But if you line up all 60 of those, because I do believe there are 60 pages total.
Okay. Yeah.
And in the photo stat, so you have 120 pages. So
it may be in there, but as under a different title.
So it could be under a different title, but if you line those up, because like you said in the one, this is pages 30 to 39. You have to do research because again, it's not the final art.
No,
but you'll see the parts that come up. You'll see panels where you can take them and lay them side by side. Yeah. And they're nearly identical. And other ones, they're vastly different.
Yeah.
Because it went from the first idea to, okay, well, that page layout works on this. And you can see he's doing that on standard 11 by 17. Well, the final edition was a treasury edition, which is even larger. And the photo stats are even larger. And they're working with different sizes, shrinking and pulling back, looking
as you say, this was stage 2 of 6. So, it's changed during the various stages.
I mean, and in essence, you can almost call it stage 1 because it's going from mental concept to physical concept.
Yes.
So it's in that earliest stage of, all right, well, we're developing this. And again, all comics start with roughs. They start with pencil layouts. They start with, you get to, once you get into the production idea, you understand all these little things that are blurbs in regular comic books. Like sometimes you'll see pencils by, inks by. Well, sometimes you'll see pencil layouts. Well, that means they just did a rough, and then the inker or the finisher would go in and tighten them up. I mean, you see different stages of this.
Yeah.
That is a tangible version of how they're trying to take it into comic book concept. And again, you had to change the format where it could be the original idea. Okay, I'm going to do a 6 panel to tell this story. Well, it works better on a bigger page in 3 panels, so they'd eliminate the middle thing and
Yeah.
do the
Yeah.
stages like that. So you see the growth and the progression of the story. Now, mind you, he wrote this as well. So
Yeah.
not only do you have the artistic roughs, you actually have the writing originals.
Yes. Yeah. He's doing both. He's doing these.
So you actually have the pencil roughs to it, but all of the self-editorializing corrections to the writer.
Fascinating.
So you have multiple layers there of that, and you have communique with the editors. So you have the guy who went in and picked out the artist and said, okay, you're the artist that's going to finish it. This is the sculpture where it started with a lump of clay, and you're holding a lump of clay that got molded into the sculpture before it was turned into bronze. And you get to the finished sculpture, but then they got to pour the bronze on it and then make it that. So you've got everything from the lump of clay right through to the finished mold before it actually went to be poured.
So here we have got some larger pieces of paper that do appear to be photocopies or photostats or something.
Photostats, 1974 photostats. Yep.
So these are the documents that Carmine Infantino comments on. Is this correct?
Yeah, and that's what he's talking about when he says, do the photostats larger so I can make reference. And you can see in Sheldon's handwriting, it's nice and tight and tidy.
Yeah.
And things like that. Well, in Carmine's, it's like my handwriting. It's huge, it's crooked, it's in different colors. You can just spot Carmine's writing in that. Like he'll have
so here
he'll have a red pencil and things like that.
Here, for instance, in the margin here where we've got some
that's Carmine. That's Carmine Infantino's handwriting.
Yeah. Okay.
And some of it's discernible, some of it isn't. I've had to take my magnifying glass to some of those to try and discern them. To tell, you see so many of Shelley's writings that okay, that's Shelley's writing. You see Carmine's and it's big and swooping and it's notes in there and it actually has editorial corrections. Hey, on this, we want to do that. So and again, it's 60 pages of
it. So this has gone from Sheldon to Carmine. Does it then go back to Sheldon again, or does it go on to somebody else? Who is Carmine writing his comments for?
All right. How many of those little interior envelopes have you opened up?
Little interior.
There were 3 interior envelopes in that package.
Right.
You've opened all 3 of them, right?
Yes.
So you're holding the loose envelope.
Yes, I've got the loose envelope. Yes, I've got that. I wondered what that was. Yes, I've got
that. Was shipped back.
Let me show you that.
And forth.
So I've got this. Is this what you mean?
That was shipped back and forth until it was in tatters. Look how many times that was mailed.
Oh, right. Okay. So this was like, it went one way, then it went the other way, and then it went back again.
Yeah. That's where the original art came in. Do you see? That's from Shelley, or that's from Carmine. Which one is that? That's from Carmine to Shelley.
From Carmine to Sheldon Mayer. Okay.
So yeah, that's the envelope where the last time Shelley had put them together, shipped them to DC. That's the envelope that shipped them back.
Right. So this is an internal DC envelope, which they used to send back and forth between various people.
Yeah. And you see those 2 green strips on the side there?
Yeah. So that would have been.
That's where the sign-off letter came from that's actually stapled to it.
Right. Got it.
That was signed for it. That has Carmine Infantino's writing on it. Right on the cover. Right on that envelope.
I have no idea what it says, but yeah.
Yeah, that has a note from Carmine to him. That's when I told Tom I'd love to just have one of those envelopes that they sent him the thing that he just tossed aside. How many of those exist? From everyone I've talked to, none of those over 50 years old exist. You're holding, as far as I know, the only envelope between two professionals that still exist.
Interesting.
Because utter throwaway material.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
mind you, everything now mind you, every single thing you're holding in that packet, from the original art to the photo stats and the layout, was all folded into that envelope at one point in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I took them apart to preserve them, to separate the pressures on them and things, but I've never taken out any of the staples that could potentially rust, never took out any of those things, never separated anything, because it's one nice tidy package put together, because that's at its last form. That's how it went from Carmine back to Shelley to the originals.
Right. Okay.
From Shelley, it went to somebody else, to me, to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Sheldon Mayer's stuff is very neatly done, isn't it? It's very readable. Yeah. But Carmen Infantino's is it's like some scroll.
Yeah, big and swooping. So I didn't even pull my Carmine reference book down here. But yeah, there's a history and everything right to the envelope. Look at this date stamp on the back of that envelope.
So the date stamp on the, I mean, there's a couple of postage things on here. I've got a 1974. I've got two April, yeah, 1970, April 30th, 1974. And then on the front, we've got there's another US postal thing from 29th of April 74.
Yeah, so that's April of 1974.
Yeah.
The book saw publication in August, September of 1975.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the later stages where they're refining editorial a year and a half before they actually saw print.
Yeah, it says June, July 75 on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got more than a year prior. That's still refining.
Yeah.
So, but that was a near 2-year passion project of Shelley Mayer's, who, mind you, is Jewish.
Yeah.
So, there's Old Testament reference in there, but it goes to modern things too. So,
this is all Old Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all Old.
So it's an old Jewish guy mailing it to a like Roman Catholic Italian, while they're just trying to decide. Sorry about that big cough. While they're trying to decide, hey, what do we do here?
Fascinating stuff.
And mind you, Carmine didn't come into the field till like 1942. So Carmine was a pup to Shelley.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite literally.
Yeah. Yeah. Was he editor in chief of DC at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Carmine's show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's really interesting.
And every single page and everything in that, from the originals to the photo stats, there's a story on every single page. There's a story on the envelope. There's a story on the centerfold photo stat. There's a story to every single one of those. I mean, that's like 125 pages of a story beyond the one that got told in the pages of the book.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Fascinating. I shall spend some time looking through those, trying to decipher Carmen Infantino.
That's what I'm saying. And you got to take a magnifying glass to it. And you got to handle it kind of gingerly, because, again, you're handling original art. But I don't do the white gloves. I just make sure I have clean hands, a flat table.
Yeah.
Hold it open, look at it, take pictures, compare them to what is in the finished product. You see just stages of that. And in 1974, that's how it was done.
Yeah.
Modern day, that's not how it's done. 1974.
It's coming up for 50 years old now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. And
Yeah.
again, the process for it started in 1973, so it is
It is
50 years
50. Yeah,
old now.
some of this stuff is 50 years old.
Conceptually speaking, yeah, it is 50 years old. That's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And it's an intact, complete interactive package. And then as it got modern into the 2000s, all that went by the wayside,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
later
Yeah.
into the 2000s. So, there are horror stories of original art just being on the floorboards, getting stepped on in artist studios. Because once it was done and it was printed, throw it aside, step on it, reuse the Bristol board, whatever. The stuff did not survive time.
Well, you can understand stuff as like this as well, which is sort of stage two in the process. You
Yeah,
can see how that would get lost quite frequently, and
yeah.
but I can't imagine there's many stage twos where you've got original artwork by Sheldon Mayer. Um, you know,
Zero, zero. There is nothing to compare that to. And one of the voices that told me that, dare I mention, is the guy that does the assessment for Heritage Auction. Says, I have nothing to compare this to. Zero. It is such a unique unicorn. I have nothing to compare it to. Not now, not historically. There is nothing to put it side by side with. There is no comparison
yeah,
because they don't exist.
no, no,
They don't exist.
yeah,
To hold production pieces from that time back, it was stuff that was tucked away in the drawer of like the founder of the company, and his grandkid, after he died, found it tucked away in a drawer and threw it out there. That's how that stuff pops up. And that's kind of what that is. That fell into the right hands that said, I see something in this other than just something throwaway. That fell into another hand that said, I see something in this. And it fell into my hands. And I said, I see something in this, and we took care of it and we tended to it. And now it's up to you. And, you see something in it. And again, it can take years to find all the minutia and piece all that together. And I've just got stacks of reference books that don't even tell the communicative story that's there, because you have to dig even deeper to find, why do you say lerv instead of love?
yeah.
You know,
I like that.
and that's why through research and things, I found out what that is, and it's just a study in the history of comic book making.
Well,
So,
thank you very much, Carl. That's been absolutely fascinating, and thanks for your input on that, because there was lots of information I didn't know there. So,
oh, we just scratched the surface. We're literally just scratching the surface. I mean, there's a photo stat of the centerfold, but there's not an original of the centerfold because they used the centerfold. So it didn't go back to Sheldon because it got used as the rough
oh,
to
okay,
actually do the centerfold.
right,
So it actually went on to Nestor and things like that. So,
yeah, okay. So, which is why it's
and
not.
that is everything but the cover, because Kubert did the cover after the fact, like a year after this communique they got, and they said, okay, let's have a cover, let's have Joe Kubert do it, here's the idea, and we go from there. But that's the only thing missing from that ensemble,
Yeah,
the
interesting.
cover, which is a year later, so it's irrelevant because the cover wasn't even a concept at the time.
No, I mean the cover's been done after the fact, I suspect. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great cover, and but I'm impressed with the internal artwork. So this is all done by this Redondo guy, isn't it?
And again, Shelley didn't take credit there, because if you do the research, Shelley still did the pencil roughs.
Yeah.
But they would have had to pay more and do that. And it was a passion project where he did the layouts, as you will, but he only took credit as the writer. But you can see he did the layouts, and certain panels you can see he did all but the finished art. And then Redondo refined it. And then Redondo was one of the Filipino contingency in the mid 70s that they picked up,
Yeah.
like My Friend Romeo Tango and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that, where they're
Yeah.
like, we've got these guys of great talent. let's pull them in. We don't have to pay them a bunch of money, but we will use their talent. So you get to see all of that process.
Yeah.
Firsthand. And again, it just, you could go on and on and on. And like I said,
Well, I'm going to
reference book after reference book.
Thank you, Carl. I'm going to call it a day on this video. I really appreciate your contribution here. And I think this is a really fascinating collection, and this will be one for the archives.